Computer. Okay, so what we're going to do tonight was a couple of things really. We got a little presentation part, which Colin, thank you very much, kindly put together a few years ago now, and that along with that we'll also go through the entries that we've chosen or Gary's chosen for the league next year. And then also I wanted to have a chat with everybody about the program, but for now until the end of the year. If anybody's got any suggestions, so if you want to get your thinking caps on, because obviously the club, we try and put things on for all the members, whatever you want. And I guess from now on, it's mainly going to be Zoom meetings until the end of the year. With the weather sort of turning, it's a bit awkward to organise the nights out because we're reliant on the weather, and there's nothing more frustrating than we were a bit like last week. We arranged to go out and then the weather turns. So we'll have a chat about that at the end. But anyway, on to what makes a competition winner. So we covered earlier in the year critiquing photos in our presentation back in May, and also what you should be considering when you take a photo, which we covered in 20 questions to be asked for be taking a photo. So tonight carries on this theme and brings it all together in how what you take and present should be mindful of the judges, including ourselves, that is, because we're all the judges when we mark the PDIs. So the topics we will cover tonight may be familiar, but it's something you may or may not consider every time you take a photo. However, it doesn't hurt to go over these important things again. I appreciate not everyone's looking to take winning pictures, and some of you may be just wanting to take them because you enjoy the excitement and thrill of taking a photo. And unlike when it was on film, you don't have to wait for a week before it's been processed so you can see the fruits of your work. However, if we give a little bit of additional thought to what makes a competition winner, it should naturally follow that we will all take better photos, which will therefore give you more enjoyment in your hobby. And hopefully for those that want to take winning photos, it will give you the base to improve. Also, we've had an email from the SCPF. They've just announced clearer sort of guidance on what the judges are looking for and naturally what they expect to see in a photo. And this is then reflected in their marking. So we'll also take a look at these guidelines and how this will affect their marking. Obviously, this new marking, we only usually have an external judge for the league matches and the occasional PDI, like when Sue did the other week. So this is the sort of guidance that they'll be using, which I'll show later on in the presentation. So what makes a competition winner? Well, obviously it can't be defined, but it can be recognised. Just a second. Right, it's all right. Bit of a lag. Okay, so what makes a competition winner? Consensus, the main points is outstanding subject matter, makes a statement or tells a story or demands thought, a creative approach to the subject, and most importantly, originality. Composition, the technique and technical excellence, and obviously empathy with the judges. So we'll then go through those main points in greater detail on the following slides. So outstanding subject matter. The subject of the image must be obvious and undeniable. There shouldn't be anything in the image that competes with the subject, which obviously includes other objects such as colours, other shapes, competing with the light and the shade, or a busy background. And really the subject shouldn't be everyone's favourite. So falling into the category of subjects like sunsets, mother and child, pets, etc. The most common subjects are least likely to win. And obviously pictures, although maybe not obviously, but pictures taken at events into which you have an emotional attachment, such as weddings and holidays, etc., rarely make good composition images. Those taken with a deliberate intent in mind, where the structure is thought about, will shine through. So makes a statement or tells a story or demands thought. So it must engage the judge in thought, stir his or her emotion, demand attention, and be memorable. It doesn't have to be pleasing, and obviously it can also be controversial. Creative approach to the subject, originality. So when shooting, it's the lighting, angles and perspectives, contrary composition, lead in, lead out lines, which we've always gone on about. Colour is important. And then post-processing, it's the reinterpretation of what you've taken, enhancing the image, and obviously subduing blemishes and anything that is a distraction in the picture. Composition, it's not just the rule of thirds, but colour balance and light and shade also. Everything supports the eye going to the subject. No distraction from bright spots or vivid colours or other significant items. In focus, elements of the image must not distract from the subject. Ensure differential focus enhances the subject. When looking at the composition, ignore all the minor details in the image and concentrate on the major components. And also use significant, but not the subject, elements in the image to frame the subject. So technique and technical excellence. So technique is the ability to maximize all the controllable factors that support the subject at the time of taking the image. Lighting, photographer's position, focus, exposure, depth of field, HDR, filters, etc. And technical excellence is also the ability to present the image and the subject in the best possible way by eliminating all negative impairments and enhancing all the positive aspects. This will normally be done in your photo editor, Affinity or Photoshop. Sharpening, levels, selective area treatments, color enhancements, electronic filters, etc. Empathy with the judges. All judges are human and therefore have biases and preferences. And I'm sure we've all seen that when we've seen an external judge. You often get the judge that maybe doesn't like, say, cats, so marks them down, or doesn't like a certain country or certain subjects. And of course, there's not really any way of knowing that before you enter a comp. If you are lucky, you'll have a judge who likes your efforts. If not, better luck next time. So that's the main subjects there. Now, the SCPF have sent us through some details of how they're looking at expressing the marks that they give and how they're weighting the elements of your pictures. So this shows the weighting that the judges will give to a mark. So if you're looking at a mark, 10 to 15% of their mark will be on the technical aspects of your image. So how well the image has been produced technically. So that would be the exposure and contrast, tonal range, color saturation, sharpness, handling of the basic digital production, quality of the printing if it's a print. And then you've got the craft. So that is going to get 30 to 35% of their marking, and it's largely subjective. So that includes composition and its effects and the control of the lighting, choice of your lens, timing, appropriate use of styles, format. In the case of prints, it's the choice of paper, which is quite important on some kinds of pictures. And then the presentation, choice and quality of the mounting, or PDI if it's got a border or not on the PDIs, and what the border's like. Sometimes that can affect how the picture looks up on the screen. But it's interesting that they're looking at 55 to 60% of the mark they give will be what they class as the expressive quality of your image. So that's how the image speaks to the viewer on a personal level. So highly subjective, and that you're looking at, does it engage you emotionally? Does it invoke a strong reaction, positive or negative? Which is what we covered a couple of slides previous. Does it show individuality, originality, there's that word again, and photographer's input? Is it especially beautiful, ugly, subtle or dramatic? And does it convey an idea or information? And does it keep your interest? Does it ask questions or create intrigue or curiosity? And does it make you think? So those are all the things that they're looking at. And obviously they're putting great weight behind this expressive quality. So they're looking at that more than they're giving that more of the percentage of the mark than your technical ability to take a photo. And these give an idea of the ranges of how they then express that in a mark out of, which is normally in most of the competitions a mark out of 10. So basically the highest standards in the image in this range is considered very high in expressive quality and excellent in both technical and craft. And very good, which would be 8.5 to 9 mark range, is images high in expressive quality, but slightly less so than those in the higher range, even when you've got excellent technical and craft ability. And then you've got your good average standard, which is a mark of a 7 or 8. And this is images that are in this middle range are competent and reasonable to good examples of photography, and they're above the base level of competence. And the base competence, 6, 6.5, images in this range are at the base competence level for this event. So they lack the expressive quality and individuality, and there's scope for development. And then less than 6 is not suitable for this competition. This you normally find, you would always, I think you find this is when somebody enters, if you've got a subject set, they enter the wrong picture, because I can't think of anybody marking less than 6 based on the quality of the photo. It's normally a case of what they've put it into the wrong competition. So that's those 2 pages are a sort of flavour of what the SCPF are looking at as we move forward, and obviously they'll be using that guidance for the league matches as we move forward. So it just gives us an idea of what they're looking for, which if you're looking to produce a competition winner, you've got to be looking to try and satisfy what the judge is looking for, because that helps you get a better mark. So what makes a competition winner? Just remember, it is a hobby. The enjoyment is the participating in the hobby. Winning competitions has kudos but little else, and participating in the comps is the best way for you to measure your improvement. And participating may just push the boundaries of your current limitations. I mean, we're all trying to, the reason we all do this is to try and take better photos, obviously, which is satisfying, even if it doesn't win. And also don't be hurt by critiques of your images. Remember what they said and try not to do it again, or to take it into account when you do. And a little bit Colin put at the end was, remember, those that can do and those that can't teach and criticize, which is why we like teaching and critiquing. So on to the, that gives us a bit of an idea of what we're looking for in a competition winner. Did you knock the door? Right. So this is the 8 pictures that we've chosen for our entry into the PDI League this year. Gary's gone through them, and I've had a sort of a chat with him about them as well. But gone through, and I'm very pleased to say that, as far as I can ever remember, this is the first year that we've ever had 8 entries with 8 different photographers. Normally, we've got 2 or 3 people that have got 2 entries. So I think that's really great, and it just shows that there's been some great improvement over the last few years with the quality of the pictures getting entered. Would you agree with that, Colin?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's really good. So I think hopefully we'll be looking to do well in the league. If not, we've got 8 people to blame instead of 4 now. So first one is the Common Red Poppy by Dennis Back, which obviously this is all the ones that this is the top 10 and the first place, the 3, 2 and 1 placings that Sue produced for us. So first one we're entering is Dennis Back's, and as Sue said, and she's the judge, I'm working for the judges for the SCPF, so it's a good guide for us to listen and see what she had to say about our photos. As she said, wonderful lighting on the flower with the focal length chosen, suiting the image perfectly, with just the very front petals slightly soft, which adds to the 3D effect. The detail in the petals makes this image very tactile, and the contrast of the green seed head sitting on the bed of stamens against the red petals with the green stem below adds a touch of drama. So well done, Dennis. Second, that we put, not second, but the second entry is Derwent Water Sunrise by Mike Dawkins. So well done, Mike. As Sue said, the superb light and atmosphere make this landscape stand out. The leading of the posts and the netting from the bottom left hand corner to just past the centre adds drama and interest, and a stunning piece of photography. And that was one of the things that was it further back in the presentation, lead-in lines, which I'm sure we're all familiar with now, but just makes a difference, just gives it that little bit extra. Our third entry is Fox Cub by Trudy. And Sue said, great focusing in this image with the excellent rendition of the fur. The surrounding foliage gives a lovely impression of this cub being inquisitive, and the inclusion of the brush in the background gives another dimension to the image. A lovely portrait. The next one is My Mogshade Pond Sunrise. And Sue said, an incredible depiction of the sunrise with the composition adding to the drama with a real feeling of movement in the clouds. There is excellent detail in the tracery of the trees, and the use of a wide-angle lens with a small aperture shows the whole panorama of the scene. A very successful landscape. So really, no need for me to watch that program on YouTube tomorrow. Next one came first in the comp, which is Portland Lighthouse at Sunrise by Gary. And Sue said, to produce a successful monochrome landscape is a real challenge, and this image is a masterclass in how to achieve it. Every tone from white to black has been used to great effect, and the technical quality shines through. The light coming in from the right-hand side picks up the rocks and the side of the lighthouse beautifully, with the slow shutter speed, giving movement to the dramatic sky. A clean, crisp feel to the bottom half of the image, combined with the gritty feel to the rocks in the foreground, contrasts well with the sky. Now, I know Gary's not here tonight, but I do know that he's been doing a lot of work on his monochrome pictures using luminosity masks. And if anybody's interested, let us know when we get to discuss it at the end. We might be able to get him to give us a bit of a tuition on that, because it is something that's readily available to plug into the Photoshop. And I know he's been using it quite successfully, and he's very keen to carry on with his monochromes. Next one is The Scotsman Flying by Keith. And Sue said, although the engine itself is fairly static, there is a good impression of movement in the smoke from the funnel. The positioning of the man in the doorway is good as it draws the viewer along the length of the train from front to back. The contrast on the engine has been handled well, but the foreground is rather bright. Now, what actually Keith's done since Sue critiqued it is he has cropped off the light bit at the bottom. So this image that we're putting into the league is slight, has taken that into account now. So that's that entry of Keith's, which is great. And he's taken out the wire at the bottom, which you can't actually see the join, which is really good. Next was Terry's Uvala grandiflora. And Sue put a fabulous high key image with beautiful backlighting. By placing the flower against a completely white background, the shapes of the leaves and flowers are clearly defined, and the shape of the whole plant with the S shape of the stem and leaves and flowers coming from it to the right hand side is beautiful. Like, the dynamic contrast between the green leaves and the yellow flowers is exciting, and the darkening of the leaf at the top with a much lighter one at the bottom takes the viewer on a journey through the image. Our next one is Yachts by Dave McGill. And Sue said, a great feeling of drama and movement coupled with excellent focusing and control of lighting makes this a very strong image. The churning waves in the foreground leave the viewer to the main subject, the yacht, with the fortunate addition of the red clothing of the crew giving extra impact. The multiplicity of the yachts behind with the varying angles of their sails gives an exciting impression of a race, together with an interesting but not overpowering sky. The whole image has been very skillfully handled. And that is that. So if there's any questions, let me just ask everybody to unmute. Right, okay, let's stop the share. Okay, so well done, everybody. Mike, I don't know if you knew we picked your picture, did you?
Pardon?
Did you know that we picked your picture? You probably
No,
didn't.
No.
No. So well done for that. Really good. So I don't know if anybody else got any questions at all.
Just an observation, Pete.
Yeah.
You'll notice that the marking has now changed from 6 to 10 instead of from 7 to 10.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, won't it, going forward, what happens with that. I'm sure we won't get any 6s, hopefully. But you don't know, do you? You just don't. It's all down to the judge. I think you see some of these judges and they talk about the picture. They give it really glowing comments, and then they give it a low mark. So I think that's something that's being passed back to them so that they can try and match their comments to the score. Everybody happy with the 8 pictures we've chosen? I think it's quite a strong, hopefully be quite a strong entry.
It's a good mix as well.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and like I say, it's the first time we've ever had 8 separate photographers, so that's really good. Sylvia, are you there? Sylvia's trying to join, which is good.
Pete, how does it work with what happens now in terms of timelines and that? And do we get to see all the other pictures that are being put forward? Or
yes, yeah. What happens now? I've got to get the pictures uploaded to the SCPF by next Monday. They then, I think the first league match is early November. So after next Monday, about a week or so, I then get all the entries in our league back.
Right.
And what we normally do, we will then have an evening when we'll go through them and chat about them and critique them between ourselves and
Oh, great.
see what we're up against.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting. I think it was last year, wasn't it, Colin, that we went through and gave them all a mark, but sort of agreed it between ourselves what we thought would be and it was quite concerning, really. I think there was one picture we all thought 6 or 7, and it picked up a few 10s.
Wow.
But it's unfortunately
Unpredictable.
is always the way. What we all think's good, sometimes the individual judge doesn't. And then we've got our league match, our home league match booked for February the 10th next year. And Maria, who did our Prince, she did it at the beginning of this year, which was obviously last year's comp, is going to do the PDI for us. So it'll either be the league matches, will obviously for the foreseeable future will be with a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
whether any of the clubs that are holding, because each club has to hold one round of the marking in their club, whether they'll invite the other clubs, I can't see why they wouldn't invite us to all join in to view it.
Yeah.
But we'll wait and see. And then what happens, Ray, is that they obviously the judge marks it on the night, and then you get first through to 8th, and I think first place gets 10 points, second 8 or 9, 7, 6 works its way down, and so you have a little league table. And like I say, last year we got promoted in both leagues, both print and PDI.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Despite
Great.
Maria's best efforts to mark us poorly, which I haven't let her forget. So that's what happens with that. So we'll keep everybody informed of like I did last year, of how we got on, and if any of us get 10s, I'll let everybody know, because that's good. And the at the end of the season, obviously you've got your winners of the league, etc. And of course you can get relegated. But the highest scoring PDIs in each league go forward to the finals day, when the highest scores are all put up against each other, and then there's an award for the best pitcher, or I think there's a number of awards given out. So it's quite interesting, and it's a good way of seeing how our quality compares with other clubs.
Is there like a, this is the Southern, right? Is there a Northern League and a Midlands, or?
Yeah, there's I
Works?
did have the details I put up before this. There are leagues. Is there about 12 area leagues, I think,
Right.
something like that, roughly, and then they're all controlled by the PAGB, which is the Photographic Alliance of Great Britain. So
Wow.
all the area groups report into the PAGB, and the PAGB then reports into FIAP, I think it is. I did have it up. I did put it up on a sheet of paper
So it's like, you've
last
got
year.
like a hierarchy somewhere of how it all
Yeah, and it's the
comes together.
PAGB, and yeah, and then is
Yeah.
it FIAP? They FIAP cover the world, and they sort of set the standards which are sort of adhered to, and they also produce all the rules and regs for these different comps, like the Southampton International photographic competition. That's all organised in under the PAGB rules and regs.
You're still going by that format that you showed in terms of marking, aren't you? The EQ and that's all going to be a similar what a judge would be looking for anyway in all
Yes.
these sort of competitions.
Yeah.
If you can take those or some of those, you're on your way.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That basically the idea of putting it up tonight is, and if anybody wants a copy of it, I'll send it out.
Yeah, cool.
It gives you an idea of what you're trying to work towards. because
Yeah.
we're all trying to take photos to the best of our ability, so
Yeah.
that that we can have a good chance of competing against these other clubs.
Yeah, Pete,
Yeah,
can I just say that I like the way that we mark our own, we mark it internally.
yeah,
But coming from Bewley, obviously we had every competition, there was a federation judge would come in and do the judging.
yeah,
And I think that my look-see over what I've seen so far is that we mark collectively quite a lot differently to what federation judges do. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I mean, obviously we're not going to be exactly the same because it's subjective and all the rest of it, but I think the point's worth making that we do judge differently to what federation judges do.
yeah, yeah.
Which tells you something about federation judges.
Yeah, when we put our marks, our images into federation competitions, then maybe the federation judges won't see them in the same light that we see them.
No, quite. And I mean, and that is something that we've been sort of trying to cover the last couple of years, Roy.
Yeah,
With trying to like part of tonight's is to give that bit of thought to what everybody's doing when they take their photos, but obviously we've covered critiquing before, which is
yeah.
loosely based on what we've covered tonight.
Yeah, but what we see, I mean, we tend to be more emotional than the federation judges tend to be, and of course we don't see the hundreds of birds on sticks and 100 beach huts and all the rest of it. So we have a different, mind's eye view of what we see compared to what they do.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I'm saying, really.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. Yeah, we do we do look at it differently when we mark to what a judge would be, but I wouldn't say we were more generous than the judges. And when we've had the evenings where we've discussed critiquing, we've tried to say that you should be looking to give, if it warrants it, you should be looking to give some 10s to a photo. And I think we've got a lot of people that don't actually give anything ever a 10.
There was some recent discussion on this VPF thing about that, whether you actually judge photographs on their own merit or whether you decide that the best photographs in a competition should get a 10.
Yes.
The sort of two alternate marking
and this
schemes.
Is
I don't know if it's a club decides that or.
Well, it's part of the SCPF email they sent us was to say what were the thoughts from the clubs as to when although we don't often get judges in, when we've had them in, when obviously we got Roy in to do the comp at the end of last year for Mounts Trophy, and when they come in, the judge will ask you what range do you want your marks to be. So we will say to him, well, between 7 and 10. Or it's in the case with Sue marked them the other week. We want 1, 2, we want first, second, and third, and as many highly commendeds as you feel you'd like to give. So it is slightly different how we mark our monthly PDIs to what the judges do, but we are trying to get the members to mark, basing it on what the SCPF are recognising. And the idea behind some of the presentations is so that you start thinking a bit more like a judge, both in how you mark and also in how you take your photos.
Thing is, if I wanted a club that concentrated on pleasing SCPF judges, I had a lot of clubs to choose from. I joined the practical because you don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good thing to be chasing out. I've said some quite rude things about camera clubs, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
My philosophy is be your own judge and aim to beat the photographer you were yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be aware of is that as we're a kind of teaching or growing club, people have a slight interest in photography and they start to get more and more involved. And one of the easiest areas for them to pick up on is the one that attracts the least score. When you look at the documents that Peter showed earlier, that is the technical side of it. And so very often when you hear the critiques afterwards the focus is on the fact there was this bright spot or this disturbing piece of leaf, and that's a technical thing. Very little is said within the club about the actual artistic emotion of the subject. Now, I don't know that we're really set up to have that capability. I don't think there are many in the club that have the expertise where they can actually express that and influence the scoring of the club members. But the average score is the best we've got at present, and it does drag people into thinking about the photographs. So I'm not too worried about us coming up with different conclusions to the more professional judges. It is part of a process of learning and studying images and deciding what you think is right and wrong with it.
Yeah. And
Well, and
maybe,
we
you know, and like tonight is to make you think a bit about what you do and what you take, and then it's entirely up to you what you do with it, whether you want to, you know, use it to improve your scores, or whether you just want to ignore it totally, or you just sort of think, ah, well, that I hadn't thought of that, or, you know.
I was going to say, I'll do a bit of both. I'm assuming you can hear me.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do a bit of both. I'll put some photographs in for which I like and think might do reasonably well, and then I put other photographs in just to get a reaction to see what you know, how it will go down. So
I didn't notice that, Gary.
So what you're basically saying is you want to know who's going to have the nerve and to tell you how rubbish it is. Is this what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what happens if we say it's rubbish, it's on the one that you thought was really good?
I'll probably disagree with you.
So I mean that's the sort of the idea. I mean, when we put these presentations together, it's to, you know, give you a prompt or make you think about something that you maybe not thought of. It's not this is the right or the wrong way. And like I've always said, if you've taken a photo and you like it, well, what does it matter? That's all that matters, isn't it? If you like it, stick it up on the wall or do whatever you want to do with it. If I've got one I like that I know Gary doesn't like, I'll make sure he keeps seeing it.
Yeah, I agree with Terry. For my money, the SCPF could go and take a running jump. You know, it's not about that for me.
Yeah. I was going
No,
to
well,
say,
we are a practical teaching camera club, and it's part of the.
we are an odd one in the SCPF. We, you know, most other clubs are run much differently to the way we do. So, and we don't have too much to do with them, do we?
Not really, no. Now they always ask who we are, don't they, when we go? Problem is,
Yeah.
they have four meetings a year, and 3 of them are on Tuesday night, so we don't normally go. So we only hear what's going on after the event. But I don't know how long we've been in it and why we joined it. I guess we joined it because it's nice to be affiliated, and it proves that, you know, we're following certain guidelines.
And we get insurance.
And we what? Sorry, Colin?
Get the insurance.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, we get the insurance at an advantageous rate. So it's got some benefits. And obviously the league matches are quite interesting. It's interesting to see what other clubs are doing, and obviously gives you an idea of how competent your photos are against other people's, and you get ideas from them, I think.
I suppose there's so many coming in as a bit of a newbie as well. There's so many different avenues now, aren't there, to show your photos? I mean, whether it be Flickr, is it 500px, Instagram, Photo Crowd. So I guess if you want to be competitive in other ways, you can, can't you?
Yeah.
Or it might be that you just like the fact that you like to show them to your family and make them happy, or inspire people to tell a story, or
yeah.
I guess we're lucky there are so many options. But yeah, it's all about just each time trying something new, isn't it? And getting the brain going, being creative.
Yeah, and being in the club just gives you, it's nice to hear what other people think or see seeing your photos, and it gives you an idea, of how well you're improving or not.
I've been enjoying watching that Master of Photography actually thing
That's
that you
quite
ticked off
interesting,
about.
isn't it?
It's very interesting. I've just done I've just seen the models one. It's quite funny.
I think they're on series 3, aren't they? I've watched all of
Really?
them, and they are the Italian judge. Well, I've forgotten what his name is.
They're quite harsh on them, aren't they? Some
Yeah, but theirs is all about, I don't know. It's a bit weird, some of it,
yeah.
but it's good to watch to get a flavour of some of the other things that are going on. And when you
Yeah.
see what they're looking for in some of these photos, well, you just think, well, yeah, carry on then.
Yeah.
You do that, and we'll carry on with what we want to do.
I think when you look at that program, they're of an order different in the mindset of what makes a good photograph than we are. We really are amateurs, and they are at the top of the professional range.
Yeah.
The academics or well-established photographers.
Yeah, you definitely learn a lot of. It's quite inspiring, I think. It's great seeing how they do it and how they stage things, and some of it's natural, and some of the way they use the light is massive, isn't it? Very clever.
Yeah.
But just traveling around the world, let's face it, the locations are stunning, aren't they? Some of them. So they were doing. I saw the one in Rome, and there's so much there. Really cool.
Yeah. It's not quite as exciting as going down to Ocean Village or meeting at the Cenotaph, but it's all right. It's got a lot of old buildings that need repairing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all falling down.
Only that the pub was closed.
Yeah.
You look at some of the professionals, and if you're a wedding photographer, my belief is that's as boring as it can get, unless you have a real focus on interacting with the bride and the groom and the wedding party. But that to me is not photography. My photography is wider than that. And so becoming a professional narrows your field down a hell of a lot for most people.
Yeah.
I'd hate to be a wedding photographer and have all these people depending on me doing a good job.
Me and Jackie used to do it.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And it gave me
to go with the bridezilla thing.
It's quite stressful, is it, getting the the kiss and everything, and making sure it's on the card and.
I can't think of any other. Can you hear me?
Yeah, not very well though.
I can't think of any other photography that I've enjoyed so much as wedding photography.
Okay.
It gave me a real buzz to show the bride off at her best, the handsome groom, even if he was an ugly bastard, I still made him look lovely.
Bit of editing.
Everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to smile. Everybody looks good. You get the odd stupid woman that turns up in a shell tracksuit. But Bob and I had the art of hiding her behind the other people. We got it right. And I think it's true to say, Bob, that we really had a good time, didn't we?
Yeah. The other thing, she made me stand at the back of the church and sing hymns.
You know something, this is a dreadful confession to make, but Bob and I used to sit at the back and take bets on how long that wedding was how long that marriage was.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. I mean, I've had.
Were you normally right? Were you normally got it?
I've had bride fathers round the
That's
back
funny.
of the church crying all over me, and
I'll give him 2 years at the best.
Yeah, finding a fag to poke in his mouth and calm him down and take him back into the church. And another time, it was a fantastic wedding, all uniforms, military uniforms. He bent down and had help written across his bottom of his shoes. But the bride didn't laugh. She turned around and walked out of the bloody church.
No.
Yeah, so
No
I
way.
followed her
Didn't see
out
the
and
funny
I was bringing her
side.
back, giving her a fag and talking.
Did you
to
get
her,
it? Did you get it? Snap it.
But
That's
honestly,
brilliant.
it was. I know it's not some
Happy days.
people's cup of tea, but for me, and I think Bob, I used to have a car with a sunroof. What was that car, Bob? I had with a sunroof.
Little Honda.
Was it?
Little Honda
Prelude,
Coupe.
Honda Prelude. And I'm driving along, and the bride and groom were in front of us in their car, coming from the church to reception. And I made Bob stand up in the car out of the roof, opened the
No.
roof and made a man out taking photographs. Just
Was
for
he-
fun.
Was he stood on the headrest? Or was he never been? You'd never got his head out.
This
Did you get to photograph the divorce?
this was in days of film as well. We used to go through God knows how many rolls of film.
Amazing.
And we had such a system. We worked together so well. If I was somewhere and I'd run out of film, I'd just put my head out and go like that. And Bob would be there with a new roll of film. And if
Batteries for the flash.
we went like that,
Wow.
and his batteries were down, so I shot down and gave him a new pack of batteries. We just enjoyed it, Bob, didn't we?
Yeah, had me stood on top of tombstones, climb trees, stand on top of walls.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
The downside is the founding member of this club, Len Ferguson, was taking the wedding photographs of a member of the club and his bride.
Right, yeah.
Hadn't.
Yeah.
This is when he put the film. He hadn't engaged the film into the sprocket.
Oh no.
Oh,
Wedding taking.
Oh.
And he had absolutely.
What was his
so
name, the
bad.
groom? I can't remember. He used to live next door to Kerry, didn't he?
Yeah,
Railway for upholsterer or something.
yeah.
Yeah. But there can be some really good times. But you had to know the time to get to hell out of Dallas. Because once you got to the reception, you
Yeah.
shot round, do everything you needed to do at this reception, and
Yeah.
then get away before everybody was tanked up and the
Yeah.
fighting started.
Yeah.
Arguments and fights and things. Good fun.
Yeah. It's all in the timing.
What's next?
Right.
Brilliant.
Colin, you didn't want to say anything about where we are with the hall at all, because we're
I'll give you a quick review.
Yeah.
If you remember the last time I spoke to you, we went home and found that the government had changed the rule of 30, clubs getting together, and reduced it to 6. So at that point, everything that the Baddesley Parish Council had done and we've been preparing seemed a little bit futile. But what I did was I discussed with them and with Peter and the other members of the committee the fact that we should take that as a start point. And what the council provided was a contract, which we haven't signed, a risk assessment for them running the hall, and some procedures. And so I did exactly the same thing for the club, assuming that we could go ahead. And what we'll do is when we get some government relief that allows us to try and do this again, then we'll just rewrite these things where it's necessary. But basically, had we been allowed to go ahead, we had about 50% of the club who said no, they wouldn't participate because they didn't feel they wanted to be too close to the other members of the club. And 50% who said they would participate. So we looked carefully at whether we could have a hybrid meeting whereby we ran the club meeting in the clubhouse, but also zoomed it out to the other members of the club. That subsequently turned out that the parish council improved the broadband inside the building. Whether it's really good enough remains to be seen, but it looks as though we can go ahead with that. We don't expect to see any movement from the council this side of Christmas, no matter what the government says, because almost all the clubs, apart from ourselves, had decided they weren't going to do anything before Christmas anyhow. And apart from trying to get some money out of us, I don't think the parish council were really interested in us participating anyhow. I went round there about a week ago, and the place is being ripped out by various building companies. So I don't think they're ready to have us back. And all this talk about being available in September was a lot of nonsense. So we'll wait and see. We will attempt to get back together for those who wish to participate in a face-to-face meeting as soon as it's safe and the individual members are prepared to take the risk. But we will be looking at running a hybrid for those who don't want to take the risk or aren't allowed to take the risk, then leave them out, zooming in. And we don't know how that's going to work because that's going to be quite complex to try and control people who are present and control people who are on the end of the Zoom meeting and trying to get it to work cohesively. But well, we got these Zoom meetings running very quickly, didn't you, Peter?
yeah, I think they've gone all right, haven't they?
Successful. There's a lot of over talking, but what can you do about it?
Yeah, you can't do any, but I think everybody's enjoyed it, and it's nice to keep in touch with everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
What we, I think Peter's going to bring this up now, is we need something for the ongoing Zoom meetings from now to Christmas at least, which keeps people interested in connecting each Tuesday. Is that your next thing, Peter?
Yes, that was what, you know, for all the newer members like Ray, etc., that and Roy that haven't been with us so long. Obviously, we'd like your input. We've always endeavoured to put on a program that you're interested in, something you want to learn or something you want to do. So the program really revolves around your ideas, and so they're all welcome, because we've sort of gone through and done most of it before. Obviously, new people might not won't have seen some of that. What is it you would like us to do on a Tuesday night? Because we want to keep the Zoom meetings going, but we don't want to put things on and someone goes, "Oh, he's on about that again," or "Well, we did this not so long ago." So it's, you know, it's what would you like?
In our back pocket, we do have a suggestion from Keith, which is, oh, he's just disappeared.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, no, he's just moved. something happened. Everybody moved around. Musical chairs, I think.
And that is that to try and fill these evenings and keep them interesting, that we have multiple participants who give their views, their favourite tools or their favourite themes or whatever that they like to play around with. We had Dave McGill, if you remember, give us a talk on the using HDR and that picture of the bridge over the Bronx, from the Bronx. And that went down quite well. We turned that into a video. But if we could get some shorter versions of that from the experienced people who are prepared, you don't have to do a presentation, but put up a couple of slides and just talk to it and why you like them or whatever. We'll see if we can knock that into shape. The other thing is, and off the back of Keith's suggestion, was picking on your favourite photographs and having 10 minutes to talk about it and why you think it's an outstanding photograph from your point of view. And I don't mean the emotional family ones, the newborn baby, that sort of thing, but just pictures you've taken at some time, which probably weren't worthy of putting into a competition, but you really enjoyed taking, and it's how it's positioned on the wall or whatever for some time. So we'll try and get more people involved so that you don't get bored with Peter talking all the time.
Yeah. Excellent idea.
Just add a bit to my idea. So what I thought was initiate a series where people talk about my favorite ... And it could be my favorite editing tool. It could be my favorite software. It could be my favorite website. It could be my favorite photographic location. It could be my favorite photographic technique. It could just be, as Colin said, my favorite pictures. You know, once you start starting a sentence, my favorite in photography, there are quite a lot of different possibilities. And I wondered if there are people, you know, it would rely perhaps a bit on members who are sufficiently keen to take part, but you could talk for 2 minutes or half an hour, or you could illustrate it or not illustrate it, you know, but we've got quite a lot of expertise, and I think it has legs. It's this idea, you know, if you could come up with ideas, people can just volunteer them.
Yeah.
Well, I'll volunteer for one. I'll do how I do dodge and burn.
Right.
Yeah, great.
One other thing, Gary, which I mentioned before you connected, I think, was I explained your picture of Portland sunrise.
Yes.
Came first. Did you use that luminosity, the luminosity masks? Or what I was going to say was, did you want to do a little 5-10 minutes on those, or do you think it's a bit complicated?
No, I won't. I've got this dodge and burn that I do.
Okay.
and I was going to sort of save it until we got back together.
Yeah.
It's nice and simple. You could correct your errors. Unfortunately, it's in Photoshop. I don't know, whether you'll be able to do it in what's the other program?
Affinity.
You can do it in Affinity.
Yeah. I use a non-destructive.
You'd be able to transfer it over, but yeah, so I'll volunteer to do that.
Excellent.
Ray was on about hyperfocus.
Yeah. I just stuck a quick list. There's just things I scribbled down this week.
Yeah,
I wasn't
okay.
sure about what the etiquette is, really understanding it, that kind of thing.
Sorry, isn't that complicated, Ray?
It suggests to me another series which begins how to ...
I mean, there's a difference between looking up, obviously you whack it in Google and you get a million answers and videos, but it's a really nice thing to do it as a club.
Yes.
Someone knows a bit about it. In 2 minutes, what's it about? I'm in the middle of thinking about maybe kit next year to buy. I'm not sure which lens is, all the rest of it. Bob's kindly loaned me a lens, so I'm trying to replace that. I'm not really sure where to go with it. So all that would be useful.
Yeah, and also if you get someone show you it, like we've done when we do the Photoshop tips and techniques, you see someone else do it, it's a lot easier to understand than trying to read it.
Yeah.
Out of a magazine or something, because you read it and you don't sometimes well, at least I don't sometimes quite understand what they mean. Yeah, I've got a how to remove Gary from most of my pictures when I'm out taking photos with him.
Go out on your own.
Ideas.
I thought you had an action for
that. Well, I did, but it's only a small action and you've got bigger.
Can I suggest that now we had this discussion, if you feel as though you've got something you'd like to add, even if it's only a 2-minute talk or an hour's talk, then drop a note to Peter and he can assemble the whole thing together, and then sometime in the future we can shuffle them out and try and get 2 or 3 different little talks in the evening.
Yeah.
And that varies a bit rather than having one single talk, which we pad out to make it last for the whole evening.
Yeah. Just trying to fill it out so that Roy can go straight from the meeting to Bake Off.
Coming back to nights out, a day out or a Sunday or something.
Yeah, could do.
Yeah, you raise the weather, Bob, and
yeah. That is unfortunately
well, it doesn't
is the
have
biggest.
to be actually brilliant weather, does it?
No.
Some of the best photography is done in the crap.
Yeah.
Peter?
Yes, Colin.
Have you set, or has the committee set the dates for the trophy competitions?
Which trophy? So we got mounts to do, haven't we?
Yeah, and there's another one, isn't it?
Oh, put it away, Gary.
Was it the Len Ferguson?
Yeah, we didn't do the Len Ferguson last year.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, he did. Gary got it there in his hand.
Did he?
Yeah, showing it off.
Which trophy you got there, Gary?
Len Ferguson.
Yeah, but you didn't win that last year, did you? That was the year before.
Well, the last date I could see on air, is 2018.
I prefer yours, Colin.
Yeah.
And the other question is,
can you sit down and talk? Because I want to do
the other question is, what format will it take?
Well, that's what we'll get. We'll sort that. That's why we want to put the program together because we normally do it about end of November, December, don't we?
Yeah.
So we'll get those 2 into the program.
Obviously, it's going to be PDI, but
yeah, well, of course, yeah. Unless we do prints and you hold them up in front of the computer.
Actually, apparently, other clubs have been doing PDIs. They kind of like deliver the prints to the judge and they put them in quarantine for 3 days, and then the judge looks at them.
Oh right.
And hands them back. So judge ones. Some of the clubs are still doing PDI.
Thanks for that,
prints.
Terry.
Well, it's kind of safe. Nothing's
I appreciate that.
Things don't survive more than 3 days or so.
I ran some experiments on cleaning prints, because part of the risk assessment said we couldn't have print competitions in the club because they're handled by everyone, and we needed to be able to keep them clean. And so I took some isopropyl alcohol, and with both my Canon printers, which use different inks, I printed down a picture and left it for 24 hours, and then I gently cleaned it with pure alcohol. It's a 90.9% pure alcohol, and it had no effect whatsoever on the actual ink that's been deposited, so none came off. And it works well on the cardboard as well that surrounded the print. But what I found was it actually took a slight film off the surface of the print, and the print actually looked slightly better. Deep down, it's obvious there's something there which dries and is generally not noticeable. But when you do clean it with this alcohol, it actually looks a little bit better. So if we do want to see whether we can run print competitions in the future when we start to get back together, but we've still got restrictions, then I'll ask you to bring in some prints so that I can test it against all the other ink manufacturers and see whether they're stable as well.
What about rubber gloves?
Sorry, two people then.
Sorry, Colin.
Yeah.
What about rubber gloves?
Rubber gloves.
Well, you have to have gloves to handle them, but even so, you're still putting them down and passing them around, and it increases the risk of stuff being on the prints. So
Yeah, but
if nobody touches them, that doesn't matter. I mean, if you have one person who could wear gloves to collect them at the end of the night, one person, the same person lays them out at the beginning, and you leave them in quarantine 3 days before and after, there's probably logistics of getting the prints there and back again. That's the difficulty.
Yeah.
Sorry, Colin, you were going to say? Colin Leach.
I was going to say, if there's only one person handling them, only one person needs to wear rubber gloves, and you discard the rubber gloves at the end of the evening.
Yeah.
So you say 15 people putting in prints, and then one person shuffling them around, and then they're being returned to the owners. Or alternatively, if we are going to go into inter-club competitions with them, then they have to go into the box. So you start to raise the risk of stuff being on there. And the risk is the residue on the shiny surface, not so much the cardboard, where it doesn't survive very long, but it's on the shiny surfaces that you might get it.
People shouldn't be poking that anyway, though, should they?
Sorry, Terry?
People shouldn't be poking the shiny bits of the photos anyway, should they?
Shouldn't be.
Your camera club.
Doesn't take long to get somebody's dirty paws all over it.
It's amazing how dirty some of these prints are once they've been around all the different clubs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else got any thoughts or wants to volunteer to do a little turn
So I
on a
guess
Tuesday
that's
night?
photography.
Hey?
So I guess that's dirty photography.
Peter, I see under the chat a number of suggestions are being made, mainly from Craig, but
yeah,
perhaps from other people too. If a list of suggestions comes to you, maybe you could just circulate it and find out if there are people who want to talk to one of those topics.
Of course. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll collate all the ideas and then we'll see if anybody else wants to volunteer to say a few words on the subject. It's, more the merrier. You don't want to listen to me all the time, do you? I don't want to listen to me all the time.
I'll put a couple of bits in there. One, a bit random. I'm trying to get a nice picture of a kingfisher. If anyone knows where to stalk some kingfishers, that'd be great. And also, any gurus on flash photography would be cool. If that'd be good. Using a flash externally, separate flash.
Okay.
Maybe someone could do a little 10-minute on that.
Yeah, fine. What we might look at is videoing some sort of tips like that, and then just showing the video, because it's a bit easier to produce the video and sort of edit it offline, and then we can just show the video or find one on YouTube or something. So we can we can do that.
Something I could offer is that I'm pretty savvy at doing video editing.
Oh, right.
So I could do a little on-screen demo for that, if you like, using an iPad, using the PC. And I use something called LumaFusion. So it's really popular on
LumaFusion.
iPhones. LumaFusion. So I've been using that a while. And then perhaps how to upload it to YouTube and stuff, if anyone would like to know a bit more. I do a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because Trudy wants to do her cakes and put that up on YouTube.
There you go, Trudy, we'll team up. If you help me get a kingfisher, Trudy, I'll help you set up your YouTube channel.
They're a little bit elusive.
Oh, I haven't got my camera on.
Yeah.
I kind of hate to say it, but Bishop's Waltham Photographic Society had quite a good talk on off-camera flash with a presentation. So, some people are in Bishop's Waltham here, aren't they? I'm sure I heard somebody talking about Bishop's Waltham and that
Husband and
presentation.
wife.
Somebody.
Oh, Miriam and David are members there. But they're not here tonight.
I've linked it in chat. If you look there, there's a off-camera flash workshop.
I'll save that and print that off. What everybody's put on there.
And the guy who did it, I'm not the member. I didn't attend it, but he did quite a good write-up on off-camera flash usage, which is you'll find on that page.
Thanks, Jay. That'd be really handy, mate. I'm using filters. I've got some new filters to use.
Oh,
that'd be cool. ND filters. Neil's got one of these.
Been doing a bit of that just lately.
Young Nero speed lights. I'd like to know a bit more about them. That'd be cool.
Okay.
You done any long exposure photography yet, Craig?
No, but it's Ray.
Right.
It's the trouble with two Christian names. Not a lot, Bob. That's partly why I got one of these, just to stick on my 50mm lens. Very Diddy. It's one of them. It's a variable filter. I didn't have a lot of money to spend on them, so I thought I'd try them out.
Yeah, I had a variable ND filter. Trouble is, if you turn it too far, you get an X.
Oh.
You've got to be careful how you use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's worse the wider the lens is. Wide-angle lens, that's very, very prominent.
So these are only going to take my prime lens, Terry, so I suppose...
It depends how far you go, but the variable ones are just two polarizing filters, two linear polarizing filters, and when they're lined up, they let light through, and when they're at 90 degrees, it's try to block all light, but it's very sensitive, so it's not all perfectly at 90 degrees, and you kind of get weird patterns when it's almost completely blocking the light.
It's got some limitations, but it's just to do a bit of
and also it is also a polarizer as well, so you get the polarization effect, same as you would with just a polarization filter.
Quick one for Gary. If you're going to do a little episode on dodge and burn, I've got notes here if you want to crib it.
It's.
Expect you still got it, have you?
No, this is totally different.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody else that's doing dodge and burn as I do.
Oh. Now that I can believe.
Thought Gary might like to do one on cropping, actually, because none of us know how to crop.
You when the time comes.
Or where to crop.
Yeah, there'll be some of that as well.
The only person to do, what's it? Burning and, what's it? Blurring and burning?
Dodge and burn, eh?
Dodge and burn. The only one to do it using the eraser tool. Beware.
If I say it's history brush.
Oh.
Yeah. I've seen that technique demonstrated.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Right, okay. Well, I've got lots of people to put things up in the chat. If anybody else has got anything that they'd like us to include in the program, or would like to volunteer to do what, like what Keith was saying, how-tos or things you love doing, your favourite whatever, can you get in touch? Because then we can get something put together pretty quickly, and then it'll, you know, involve everybody then.
You hear that chorus of yes?
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
I mean, everybody, it didn't come through because everybody said yes at the same time.
We're all muted.
Okay, I think that was about it for tonight.
So,
Oh,
how did the images go down? Were they
Well,
the league ones?
yeah, it went down well.
Yeah, as I said, that's the first time I can remember we've had eight different photographers.
Yeah.
We've usually, go back a few years, we used to struggle to get
Yeah.
more than 4, didn't we?
Yeah.
So that's great, and I think the quality looks really good. So fingers crossed for some good scores.
is there a
Right,
way?
back to your kingfisher. There's a
Yes.
kingfisher over at
Sorry, shut up, Siri. Sorry, Jude.
there's a kingfisher over by the White Swan, or what's that walk goes through to the Wood Mill.
Oh yeah.
But I've only seen it a couple of times, and it's really difficult to photograph because the water's between you. But there's also one that I took a photograph of at Starr Valley Nature Reserve.
Ah,
If you look on the Echo photographs online, you'll
Oh,
find
yeah.
there's a chap called something Lee Sayers, I think, and he's forever taking pictures of
right.
kingfishers at Bishopstoke. But I haven't been able to work out whereabouts in Bishopstoke they are. So perhaps have a look at that. And as you go around on your cycle quite a bit, you may well know the areas.
I'll check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Know where it is.
yeah, my wife Alexon keeps saying to me, go on Daily Echo group. There's some loads of kingfishers, and I'm really jealous. I bet it's that chap.
It's the walk through at the back of Bishopstoke. You know Bishopstoke River.
Yeah.
It's along that walk.
Which
Long
one?
there. Because
Going from
they
the
like.
road.
You know where the old people's home is? Opposite the pub. In Bishopstoke.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many.
Going up the hill towards the church.
Yeah.
You pull in
Opposite-
there and park.
Opposite the
walk
River Inn.
through. Yeah.
Rich.
River.
Right, up there.
Opposite the river inn, yeah.
Yeah.
Opposite the
Right,
river inn.
okay.
Yeah. Just hang around there for a bit, and they like quite calm water, don't they? And so they can
Yeah.
see the fish.
But if you go to the walk, if you're going to Bishopstoke, before you get actually into Bishopstoke, if you turn left into the recreation centre where the football ground is, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, leave your car in there and then walk up to the left, and there's a pathway that goes right the way along the river there. And that's where some of those photographs are taken.
Oh, is that right? Oh, that's
Yeah.
worth knowing.
I just know because Mike lived over that side, you know, and that's where we used to go for walking.
I think I know where you mean, Jackie. Do
Yeah.
you think you could? Do you think
Behind
you
the
could Google?
football ground.
Can you whack it on Google Maps on the WhatsApp?
Shouldn't think so.
I think that's a no.
Send me the location on WhatsApp.
Right.
That's a challenge.
Okay, send me your address and I'll do your little map, okay?
Thanks, Jackie.
Real fashion one.
Right.
Yeah.
Draw a map and
If you
take
go
a
into
photo.
Eastleigh, go over the railway bridge by the station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go over the railway bridge. Down, you've got an industrial estate on your right hand side.
Yes.
There's a tyre place on your left. And you just carry on. You see the playing fields. And it's just on your left, the playing fields. It's just over the bridge, just up past the roundabout. There's a pub on one side and the playing fields on the other.
Okay, Rob. Yes. Near me.
And
I
where's the
know it.
kingfisher?
If you actually get onto that path, it ends up at that pub. We all went out there once years ago. On the way to
Guildford.
Winchester.
Farm.
Shawford.
Jawford.
Salford.
Sure,
Right.
you can
It
walk all the
goes
way to
miles and
Winchester.
miles and miles, but you'd only have to go a little way along. There's all sorts of. Is it roebucks, the little deers?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all sorts of. They're all running around and
Wow.
you know all these. But it's good. It's worth a walk.
And it's guaranteed kingfisher, right? It's guaranteed.
Let me
Is
know.
it on a bit of string or something?
Let me know when you're going. I'll make sure the buggers are there for you. All right.
The deal.
Yeah.
I heard Lakeside Park, Country Park's good as well.
Don't disturb them
Where-
because it's against the law.
They're in Jackie's
Where-
garage at the moment.
Where are the I want an albatross. Where are they?
Yeah. That's got to be what, Shirley?
Yeah, it'll be with the kingfisher, Terry, that albatross. I think they're sending Ray on a wild goose chase.
I think, yeah, I'll find
Or a
a
wild
goose and that'll be
kingfisher
it.
chase.
I'll get a goose.
Yeah,
I've
I think
actually
you
seen
might.
one at the stream over the sports centre.
You do know that Jackie doesn't know what a kingfisher looks like.
It's a
You'd know
newbie
it's a
wombat, isn't it?
pigeon.
Black and white with a long tail.
Trust me.
Thanks, Jackie.
Right, okay, guys and gals.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything to add?
No, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye now. Thanks very much.
Brilliant.
All good?
Thanks very much.
Good evening.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Night all.
Thanks for
Cheers.
joining.
Good
We'll see you
night,
next
all.
week.
Great job.
Bye, folks.
Night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Terry.
Night, Jim Bob. Night, Eloise.